fourth week of the month. It's Go with the Flow with myself and Ritu. Today we're going to be talking about video. So we'll be having some discussions. There'll be some screen shares by Ritu as well. We'll look at the possibilities, the limitations, and everything evolved around video. And I'll also give you a peek at DesignLoop, which is a creative studio that we've been developing. We're giving this away to the community. You just plug in your API keys because we want to try and get everyone to step up what they're doing with images and videos. And people keep telling me that we eat with our eyes, so why don't we give them a feast? Ritu, welcome back.
Hey Danny,
How are
glad
we
to be
doing?
back. Yeah, I'm doing good. Weather is changing. It's quite rainy up here in Vancouver. But yeah, it's the beginning of winter and holidays and all that good stuff. Yeah, I'm really excited about today's topic because I've been playing a lot with AI video recently,
Mm.
and it's almost obsessive. Once you start making videos, it's like, oh, I can't stop. I
Mm.
really get deep into it, and it's almost like an OCD thing to kind of take it to the finish line. And I'm experimenting with a lot of tools,
Mm.
experimenting with the state of AI generated videos at this point. I attended Unboxed. We were one of the sponsors, and there was a lot of, talk of like creative agent and video generated by AI and stuff like that. So I've tried all of those, and I know the
Mm.
limitations of different platforms and things like
Yeah.
that. But I'm seeing people in the industry, or actually not even in the e-commerce space, but outside of it, like creative agencies and things like that, they are literally pushing the boundaries of what's possible with
Yeah.
AI. And yeah, I was just excited to share about that stuff.
Superb. So, without further ado, did you want to start with sharing your screen or?
Yeah, I will share my screen. Okay. So I think the first thing I want to show you is the, and I don't think I'm going to play this because, audio may not come through and all that stuff, but basically, Coca-Cola, they do this fun end of year kind of big ad, right? It's the holidays ad that everybody looks forward to and stuff like that. So they've been generating actually now 2 years, maybe 3 years in a row, they've been generating either partially or completely AI generated video content. And it is absolutely unbelievable. It's like just amazing. So I'm gonna just see if I can get you guys to see a little bit of what's
Do you
possible
want?
with AI
Do you
and
want
how
to
this.
try the audio? Because it should come
Oh,
through.
oh,
Give it a
really?
go. You
Okay,
might be able to hear it. Let's give it a
okay.
go.
Yeah. See if okay. I'll start from the beginning.
Let's just test it. Okay. We haven't got the
Coming
audio,
through?
but sometimes you tick a box and or the audio play. But you can walk
Yeah.
through it and discuss it
Yes,
anyway,
I'll
can't you?
just walk through it. It's pretty magical. Like it's pretty magical how the whole thing works with the Santa hand and releasing the Coca-Cola truck and then how it kind of goes through the snow and it's just fantastic. It's just like a 1 minute long video. This is entirely generated with AI. Just mind blowing. Now, these guys got a lot of like backlash and negative comments about this video, and generally that happens when someone tries to do something revolutionary or different. People do complain, and it's fine. um, all I'm mentioning this for is to show where technology has reached at this point. I think the biggest backlash for them was that they didn't, I think I may be wrong, but I think the biggest backlash was that they didn't actually use humans. And basically, like something that could have cost millions of dollars was done at a fraction of the cost, but wasn't humans involved. And so, yes, maybe there were humans involved, but not as many. And so there was a little bit of criticism around that. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I came across this AI film festival, which is basically movies or short movies generated entirely with AI. And again, it's mind blowing how technology is announcing all these amazing crazy videos. So this is organized by a company called Runway ML. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's basically one of the big ones out there for video generation. And their AI videos are absolutely crazy, mind blowing. I would really encourage people to go check it out. So it's aiff.runwayml.com, and yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, so what I wanted to share today was like when you're trying to build like a video ad, or just building something for your product. I think the biggest concern people have is, how do I maintain character consistency? How do I maintain my product? And it has to look like my product. It can't be something else, or I can't bear to see any details that are slightly distorted, and so on. So that is a challenge. It's a pretty acceptable and valid reason for not going in the direction. But then you're also missing out on what's possible and how quickly you can get to a point where it can be usable. So with video, I just want to say that you've got to know the limitations of AI, but then work within them. Obviously, AI does not maintain geometry or the little fine text on your packaging to the T. It will distort in some places, right? So don't push the boundaries where AI hasn't reached yet. You want to do whatever you can do without completely losing out on that whole AI bandwagon. You have to jump on it. Like, you can't just say, oh, it's not there yet, so I'm not going to use it. I would say I'm going to use it, but I'm going to know where the limitations are, and maybe replace certain aspects of it with something more slideshowy, for example, or like a pan zoom, whatever. So I've been making a lot of videos. Recently, I made one. Took me about 6 hours to make a 15-second video. That's how much time it takes. And it is a lot of little pieces that kind of go together. And there's a build up, and then you've got to think about the sequence and things like that. Um, so I wanted to just, touch on, the ingredients of making a video, right? So that's where we start. We want to visualize what our video is going to look like, what emotions we are trying to evoke, what messaging we're trying to convey, and then build a storyboard. That's the first step. And for the most part, we're not trained in videography, cinematography. We don't know storyboards. We don't think like that. But that's the very discipline that we all need. And once you start doing storyboarding, you will see the limitations of, whether this would be possible with AI or not. So like, if you have a very complex thought, very complicated scene that you want to kind of put together, what if you didn't have to do that? What if you could just make it more simple, like make it simplified and use what's possible? So storyboarding, that's the first step. I kind of sketched out whatever I wanted. This was like a 6-frame sketch, like boxes, like 6 of them. And then I just took a photo of that, and then I took it to AI, and I said, okay, I want to convert this into a storyboard, and I want to think through all the scenes with Nano Banana. So Nano Banana is amazing at building concepts and visuals and things like that. I've also tried other tools, but I think Nano Banana is by far the best at the moment, especially the Nano Banana 2 that just came out.
Yeah, the pro version is great, especially now with text as well. It's so much more improved.
Yes, yes, the pro version is insane. So, taking a storyboard sketch, taking it into Nano Banana, and then composing the very first one. I bet you the first image that you create, you're gonna toss it. I did that. I tossed so many images because I was like, yeah, but okay, it got it, but then it's not what I wanted, right? It's different. So you've got to learn to live with what's possible by trying out a few different things, and then you settle on one, and then the ideas start to flow, right? Like, I was trying to show the scene of a accessory that is used by travelers, and the scene was the security line and the security tray, and I'm visualizing this tray with a bunch of alternative products, and I want to show it as a like the camera is moving on top of the tray and it's following the tray as it moves through the security conveyor belt. And I say, this isn't, this isn't what you want. You don't want a yard sale. In fact, you should replace it with this. So that was my general concept. And to build that, it took me scene after scene after scene of, trying this, trying that, replacing some element with something else. But I got it. Like at the end of the day, I finished that 15-second video and it is amazing. Like, at least I think it's amazing. It's ready to, I already deployed it on streaming TV yesterday, which is another, by the way, another really cool thing. In case you guys didn't know, Amazon is actually giving you $1,000 to support $1,000 of ad spend. So they'll match you. If you invest in or create like a video for streaming TV, which will be shown on like Prime TV, Hulu, Disney Plus, etc. Those are all the channels that Amazon has tied up with to give you amazing CPMs or rates for impression-based advertising. So yeah, I mean, things are really getting there, with video production and so on. So actually, just going to take a break here and let you, share your perspective, Danny, before I move into the nitty-gritties. What's been your experience with like ads or just AI visuals or videos in general for e-commerce?
Well, the okay, so let's take it back for a second in terms of generation, and it's someone who come from the music industry and worked in the creative industry and been on shoots and worked with directors and production teams. The problem you got at the moment, if you notice when you generate a clip, what happens, it moves slowly or it expands and closes. Have you noticed that? And
Yes.
do you know the reason behind it?
I'm assuming it's the frame rate or, but
Frames
you
per
might,
second
yeah, frames per
to
second, yeah.
generate the quality. So what it's really good for, like if we go back to the Coca-Cola ad. Now I said in a video it was 5,000 prompts. It wasn't. That was 5,000 generated clips from 30,000 prompts with a team of 5 people working on it for a month or so. So there was a lot of work going into it. And like you said, the criticism, there was 2 types of criticism. There's the one where it's like AI is taking over our business, like the creative industry would do, whether that's music or whatever. And then
Right.
there's, if you go on YouTube, you can see people that have taken the video and actually were laughing at the Coke ad because of, for them as professional video editors and stuff, there's 2 sides, right? You got the professional industry, and then there's people that go, oh, I like that I resonate and connect with it. So there are 2 things, the technical side and non-technical side. And people are making better versions of the Coke ad by taking what they're gone and fixing all the broken bits. And then I watched, and that's just that kind of narcissistic attacking, trolling shit, right? That's that
Mm-hmm.
side. And then
Yeah.
there's another guy that I highly respect when it comes to AI, and he's been in the game 20 years before it developed into AI, machine learning
Mm-hmm.
and everything else into programmer. And he was saying that the problem with the Coke ad is the same people who did the Coke ad from last year. He said, but he believes that they're using last year's technology. So when you think about going in and selling to the big brands, it's networking, getting in with the right people. It doesn't mean you'll get the best creative output. You get the best who's got the best relationships. It's generally how it
Mm.
works, right? So if someone's
Sure.
selling, so he was explaining all the frailties and stuff. And what he said is it's probably a month too early because of the update with Nano Banana, because you creating consistent characters, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. And he's saying it looked like, because it's the same team, they're using their tech from last year, not this year, which was a bit of a letdown because they could have done it
Mm.
better. But
Right. Yeah.
ultimately, we are in this world and it's developing.
Sure.
Just think how ChatGPT was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Think about
Exactly.
how image
Yeah.
generation was 6 months ago. Now, the problem that you got with video is that it's piecing it together. So
Mm.
that Coca-Cola advert, and when they say, "Oh, did you see the new Nike AI ad?" It's not AI ads, they are clips that's generated by AI and put together by a world-class editing team, right? So, and script writers that write the storyboards, the characters, and stuff like that. So what we end up saying is we say, look at this, AI's jumped so forward. We made the Coke advert with AI, but they then skip the 30,000 prompts, the 5,000 clips, the 5-person team. Where that really becomes important in places like Hollywood is you don't have to have as many sets now. Like a lot of the stuff you will see is when they shoot that in like a studio, they'll put it on the big screen and they'll still film it on cameras. Like if they're doing movies, they're going to shoot in, you know, how movies look slightly different in the way that they want to capture that feeling as well. So the way that it gets edited and what it gets shot on to give you that movie-esque kind of vibe. But what it has done, it's amazing for clip generation, mix and matching, and then someone comes along and then they do all the color corrections and make it pop. And what we don't have is the timing, right? Because if you look at timing, change of pace, and they have to be a human thing. You've done podcasts, you've done audio. How many times have you seen any of the tools? They can get rid of the space in the middle, but they run you a clip and they don't capture the moment. You know, like, oh, we capture that. We'll run a reel of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Make sure we clip that off. So it's good for all of these different things, and it's brilliant for these generating ideas, and then you can put them together. That's where we kind of are at the moment. Otherwise, at the moment, we're getting those kind of slowed down, sped up, expand, retract, and that's because of the framework to produce that quality.
Right.
And you know, when you're doing the extending, when you extend, you're better off just generating with consistency from your first generation as a new generation, because extended actually drops the quality. So then you've got to upscale it. So we're still in that place, but we're now got design tools without being designers. We're now creating short clips of videos without being a video director, a content producer in the same, in terms of building a set, you know, and having all of those people. And it's putting technology in our hands to make things that are good. And it'd be interesting to see what happens from 2 years from now. The jump that there'll be. Because the way that AI is going, it's just getting faster.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like we're going at a fast speed. It just accelerates every 9-month cycle. You watch it just going up like this.
Right.
And so it's incredible. But I still think the problem we still face is, let's say you're generating images. If you look at a lot of way people do images, like composite images, and they do things like the color variations and stuff. A lot of composite images look like everything's stuck on the wall around the product. There's no depth of field. They're not using camera angles to make it bigger. And I think once we mix that, we'll get more of the realism behind it. But ultimately, where we are at the moment, it's an incredible time to be alive.
Really, I totally agree. Yeah, and I love the way you explained the expansion and the contraction, and then, you know, the frames per second. So kind of in line with that storyboard concept that I was talking about, like we have some frames in our mind of what each scene is going to look like. But then within that frame, there is like maybe hundreds of like sub frames that are each, you know, slightly different from the previous one in motion or movement. And then AI is actually making us, it's helping us to create that transition within a small segment of what's going to be like a full-blown video. And so,
And do you know the good thing, Ritu, just sorry to step in.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Here's the good thing. Like in our industry, we work on a budget, right? So if everyone could have a world-class designer and a world-class video editor, everyone would. But the reality is they couldn't up until now. Now, it's the same with sound from being a sound engineer. It's your source material matters, right? So if you can generate lots of amazing visuals, lots of amazing video clips, when you give it to those people, it just puts rocket fuel in there. Because let's say you ask someone, can you edit the video together? I've got some images and assets. They are relying on what you give them and the volume that you give them, and the level of the quality of each of those images, because there's only so
Right.
much that they can do. But
Yeah.
now we can do the generation of that. It means that your average editor can look world class because you've generated using
Hmm.
Sora, etc. Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
make something looks amazing. And then he or she are doing a bit of color correcting. And when they're tightening it up on the timeline and they're syncing the music with the movement of the person, and they're
Mm.
just speeding the clip up and down,
Yeah.
like that slow
Mm.
speed, just
Yes.
minor adjustments, clip it, minor adjustments, clip it, some effects that's over the top,
Right.
it will look good.
Yeah.
But 2 years ago, we didn't have all the assets that we wanted or the world class photographers and stuff. Now we can
Hmm.
write that into prompt form, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we're getting there with everything.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So, talking of like prompts and,
Mm.
character consistency, because you brought that up, it's really
Yeah.
important to have the same core individual or core product appear consistently across all the frames. And so
Yes.
there's different ways to actually achieve that character consistency.
Hmm.
And I wanted to share a few of them. So there's one that really stood out as being a leader there, a tool called Laura. Have you heard of Laura?
No.
Lora. So Laura will take your photos. So let's say if Danny has like 50 photos, you can upload those 50 photos from, in different angles, different settings, with different expressions, and you can almost like, yeah, fill it up and train it on the way you look.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, it actually gives you a URL, which becomes your kind of signature profile.
Hmm.
And then you can use that shorthand, whatever you want to call it. You can call it Danny McMillan DM or whatever, and say
Hmm.
make DM do this or that, and then it actually does it, right? So that's kind of the efficient way of doing it with Laura. But you can also do something less time intensive, and kind of okay, open to everyone, which is Nano Banana. So you can actually give Nano Banana a bunch of your own photos or your product's photos in different angles and use them and ask it to use them as reference images to come up with variants of that. Now, it will make mistakes from time to time. So we have to kind of just remember that that's going to be the case. And you might need to do one more layer of editing at the end of generating that clip. But once you have a bunch of clips that are pretty close in time when it comes to visualizing a like a visual movement of the object, so almost like how in the old days the Ghiblis would, actually hand draw cartoons several frames away, and then you could flip through and it kind of shows like a motion animation, something like that. You want to bring your concept down to those frames, and then you have additional tools that can help to kind of bridge the gap between point A and point B. And those tools are the video editors of today that are becoming very popular, such as VO 3.1. Again, from Google. It does an amazing job of like stitching together two different pieces of images on the timeline, and it connects the two seamlessly. And so that's what you want to do. You want to actually find as many points on the timeline as possible in your storyboard and have those be created with your own mind, with your visualization, and you create them using Nano Banana or any of those other tools. I think Nano Banana is the best. So don't waste your time. If you haven't started, just start there. Um, and then you create the transitions between each of those pieces and then put it together. Now, it's not always easy. Sometimes it messes up. But yeah, I've noticed that when you're trying to create ads, especially the 15-second ones, it's okay to switch things up and not make it like a story or like a storyline, because like you said, Danny, the budget is important. Like you could be spending hours and hours and lots of money to get the perfect video, or you can do a quick job and just get a video, which is good enough. So you have to find the balance between like the good enough and the, expensive high quality video. And I would recommend not getting too obsessed with getting to a perfectionist state where, everything flows seamlessly. Get it in places where you have an opportunity to swap the next scene out with something totally different. Like, for example, if the first scene is building up on a movement, the second one could be just a person looking straight at the camera and there's a message at the top saying whatever they're saying. And then you can, cut and kind of cut and cut and cut till you get something that you can piece together. And that's, I would say, good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can give you some guidance on your prompts and what can go in them, because if we go back to that concept, like, so if you imagine that your prompt, the context window is converted into words, right? So how many words can you fit into the single prompt that would reliably generate but understand that this slowed, and I'll go through some of these things in a moment. So what you want to aim for, if this is around your consistency, right, and you're not using extended, is you want to look around 80 to 150 words is that window. So what you're looking at as, if we look at the subject description, so 20 to 30 words, the action and movement, 25 to 35, visual style, right, because of the consistency, 20 to 25, technical spec, 15 to 20, atmosphere and mood. So what are these? Subject description, who is it, so what is it, who's in the frame and their appearance, action and movement, specific choreography for that 8 seconds, visual style, cinematic, lighting, color palette, and technical specs, camera movement, shot type, frame rate, feel, and then atmosphere and mood, 10 to 15 words, emotional tone, energy level, right? When you go below that, say 80 words, that can be too vague, and then that model fills with too much unpredictability for when you generate. And it's never perfect in terms of your generation. Look at the Coca-Cola, they would have had some level of skill, but yet had to do 70,000 prompts and 5,000 clips to get where they want to. And the 70,000 prompts, don't forget, is the image generation for setting up all the characters and the turnaround of the character.
Sure. Yeah.
So you got that. And then you got to look at, well, okay, in my 8 seconds, how many scenes can I get out of a single prompt? So what you're probably looking at is you've got to think about reference images as well. How many reference images you do, what's enough, what's optimal, and this can change and you've got to test for yourself. So if we were looking to word for word output of that prompt and how many scenes can we get, say, in that 8 seconds, you're going to look at something like, you want to split that into 2. So try and do 2 scenes, because don't forget, even if you're not technical, you can speed it up or slow it down. But what you want to do is capture what you want with the optimal amount of information. So if we look at the options here, in terms of the extended feature, characters can drift in that more so than, generally speaking, and people may have different views on that. Characters can drift on that, so it's better to build off the first prompt and carry on the scene from that way. So if you're looking to, say, create a character, a recommended workflow could be, you start with your 1 character reference image. The reason that you would start to look at multiple is there's 2 things. One, you don't want to input confusion, and when it says you can have 2 images or 3 images, the reason that is because your second image is setting the scene and the mood. So if you've got a specific way you want it to look, so you've got the character, you've got what the character wants to do and some of the information, and you want a specific feel, that second reference image can be the feel, while the first is the character when you're generating the turnarounds and the 5 angles of the character. So let me also, I'm just pulling up to see if I've got some more notes here that will help with this. So how do we determine the number of scenes needed when using a storyboard generator for a 16-second clip to mimic professionally edited videos?
That's a great question.
So, yeah, this is the thing. I don't prompt, I just ask questions. So I kind of go from that angle and then extrapolate. So scene count formula, right? 4 or 5 scenes, it gives you that professional feel. Because you've got, when it goes too fast, there's that side of things as well. Breakdown, scene duration, 3 to 4 seconds. matches natural human attention span when the cuts appear, right? Because if you're going to give it to a video editor and they do the cuts, you want it to be as balanced as possible, and
Right.
there's less work to do on the back end for that. So if we look at a 16-second clip structure, scene 1, 4 seconds, establish your character context. Scene 2, 4 seconds, build you'll start to build your tension if you're doing that with the scene. And then number 3 is where you're going to hit your peak, and that kind of completes or hits your impact moment. And then scene number 4, the other 4 seconds, that's you resolve your reaction or your outro to move into the next part of the scene if it's a movie or whatever. An option B could be dynamic, right? So scene 1, 3 seconds, that's your hook, grab attention. Scene 2, 3 seconds, introduce the character. Scene 3, 4 seconds, quote the delivery, like this is the longest part where you're emphasizing. Scene 4, visual punctuation. Scene 5, your outro and your CTA. So there's a structure there. Now, all these could be moved around, but if you've got a bit of a framework, it's a bit easier, and you go, well, I want a clip like this, 500 words, 30 words, 62 words. If you can work off understanding the frame per second, and you're better off just giving the right information in each of those, the chance of generating them more consistently will help with that.
Right.
And understanding context window is how much is going to fit. That's why I convert it. I know it's not the right way to say it. I was kind of, how do we convert the context window to a number of words based on a set of seconds? How does that break down?
Right. Yeah.
And that's how I was able to reverse that and work out, because I'm like, why are all my clips coming out like this? I've built a storyboard generator and everything in DesignLoop. I've just working on the moment that you can automate a lot the clip generation. You're going to have a Bible with all of your structures and scenes that generates. You've got different storyboards that you pick from, and then you have all your reference images and character turnarounds, and then you walk away from the computer and it generates those step by step in a logical order, and then dumps them into your editor, but it'll put them straight on the timeline and then crossfade each of the clips, so they just sit there and all your clips are in order and joined together, which will take you 4 or 5 hours, but that's 20 to 40 minutes work for you, because you're asking questions, and then DesignLoop does that for you.
Great. Yeah, I would love to hear about DesignLoop, and I know you've been working very hard on it, and so I mean this might be a good transition into that, because most of the stuff that I've been talking about is if you do it, by hand, and of course there's a trade-off here, because if you do it by hand with a lot of these advanced AI tools like Kling or VO or Adobe and so on, it gives you a lot of control, but it also is very time-intensive work. It's not something that you can, just pursue. I guess on the other side of the spectrum is a tool like yours that could, be something that someone who's not into videography or is not expert at generating high-quality videos can definitely take advantage of. And it's so generous of you, Danny, to be giving this out to the community. So I'd love to hear more about it. So go ahead and
So what I'll do is I'll share the screen, and then I can give you more context and give you like an overview. There is a video that I shot earlier for the wait list, so people can sign up, just to give them a bit more of inside look at it. So let me just take you to the landing page. I'll drop this in the into the show notes. Tell me if you can hear this. If not, don't worry, and I'll do a quick demo anyway.
So no audio from me.
Hear the sound.
Yeah, there's no audio.
Welcome to the overview of DesignLoop Studio. This is a platform purpose-built for rapid human-in-the-loop image and video generation. Over the next few minutes, I'll guide you through the tool's capabilities, showing real-world performance and demonstrating how it can transform your creative workflow. DesignLoop delivers image and video content at a fraction of the typical costs, up to 85% cheaper than using your API directly within your own account, and of course, without the workflow. Example, I produced over 900 images and more than 30 video assets for less than $30. The focus of building was a way of creating cost efficiency without sacrificing creative control or quality. One of the biggest problems brands have is that finding and retaining high quality designers is very difficult. Secondly, up until now, world-class design in any format, be it videos or images, would come at a hefty price. The reason behind building DesignLoop this way is that you can take a non-designer, an average designer, or even a video editor and elevate their work by replacing traditional design processes with AI-driven prompts. The guardrails have been built in using the traditional creative process. I've tried to build many design apps over and over again over the past year or so, and I've spent so much time focusing on one shot and expecting magic to appear. Then I decided, why am I doing this? I spent 17 years in the music industry, which is interconnected with film, TV, fashion, and I work with many artists, producers, engineers, and people from various different creative fields. One challenge I see is that you need to separate each part of the creative process. For example, Walt Disney used different rooms, and you need to compartmentalize in the same way. What do I mean by this? For example, if you're a hardcore marketer and you're obsessed with click-through rates and conversion rates, how you approach your images, and I'm going to use extreme examples here, will be to nosebleed them. Your focus will be so much on selling the product, you may forget that the customer is eating with their eyes, and this becomes overcooked. The question is, if you put your product on a white background, remove all the text, the callouts, and the prompts, can it stand up? Imagine your VA designer. You like their work, but it's not at the level that you would like it to be realistically, and you want to redo all of your images. Consider the iteration process for a moment. If you have 900 images and create 30 video assets to edit together each month, you only need one strong image per listing. Let that sit for a moment. Let's dive into the app. The dashboard is your launch pad, where you start new projects, access editing tools, and review assets. The image editor allows for in-depth refinements. Right now, we're still implementing some of the features, which you can see on the screen, for background removal, upscaling, and feathering, so that when you're making your composite images, they're highly refined. Unlike many poorly created images that resemble a scrapbook of assets stuck together, if we look at placement text, there are general design rules. If you want to look professional, then for example, let's say you're creating a thumbnail and the subject is positioned on the left. You have placement suggestions for where the text can sit, with guardrails to help you achieve placement that fits the design aesthetics. You can then adjust the placement as needed. This removes the guesswork and ensures that you maintain visual harmony and readability. Select your AI model, Sora 2, VO3. We're transparent in what you pay. The storyboard generator allows you to orchestrate complete video sequences and multi-reference shots. People buy stories, and not everyone is creative because they excel at other parts of their business. So you pick an engine like Sora 2 or VO3. Each brings their unique strengths to your video generation. Real-time pricing and cost-saving indicators makes it easy to control your budget and optimize your output, especially if you're handing out logins to team members or your VAs. Automated generation when it comes to video simply doesn't work. And the reason being, video isn't there yet. Right now, you can't give Claude or ChatGPT creative control over writing all of your social posts, marketing material text, responding to comments, or responding to customer service without human in the loop. And if you can't do that, how do you expect to achieve something as complex as videos, sound, editing, change of pace, or building emotional resonance with the audience? AI video generation is simply used to generate the assets for the end product. You'll never be able to run a flow to spit out a compelling video that looks like it's been produced in any studio of any level, and your brand deserves better. The new Coca-Cola AI advert was over 5,000 prompts, 5 people working on it for 30 days, and then put together by world-class video editors. The good news is, even if you've got an average video editor and you provide them with amazing assets, that video editor will look like they've turned water to wine. Prompt adjustments, instant preview, edit and refine, version tracking. Unlike locked-in end-to-end AI tools, DesignLoop is focused on iteration. Tweak prompts, test variations, and receive instant previews. Every step is tracked, making it easy to revisit or adjust previous iterations. To illustrate, let's walk through the project. Start by choosing your reference images. Pick the appropriate AI model for your needs, enter descriptive prompts, or use the prompt templates for inspiration and the AI loop. Generate the content, then review and use the editing tools to dial in visual details, color, focus, aspect ratio, and more. Repeat the process as needed, and iteration is the name of the game here. Go beyond static content. You can integrate multiple reference images, letting you plan your sequence of shots and you control the rhythm. Prompt engineering underpins the whole platform. You can play around with different variations. DesignLoop's feedback-driven approach means you're always improving creative outputs while learning which prompts delivers the best results. Compare the results from different prompts and engines. Keep a library of what works. Whenever you storyboard, think about pacing. Thanks for exploring DesignLoop Studio with me. Whether you're an agency, seller, or creative, this platform is built for powerful, high-speed content creation at scale, all with creativity from the human in the loop.
Amazing. Love that.
Okay, so that sounded harsh, but it's not meant to be. And what I've been working on is the solution for all those gaps, especially pertaining to video. So the whole point of building this was to do it in such a way that if you think you've got different types of sellers, right? So if we look at what we understand in the industry as, you know, stopping the scroll. Now, stopping the scroll in our industry is get your call outs in, right? Fair comment. But if you remember banners, the display banners, the early 2000s, they got louder, brighter, and then the click-through rate went down and no one buys them as creative because they no longer work, right? So I did a video last week which gives the opposite aspect where it said, you know, obviously we do what I call affiliate style images, and there's nothing wrong with them. That's not a criticism. What I'm saying is there are different types of customer and there's different ways to market to the customer. So what works in that style for certain products, which it does work, it doesn't necessarily work for other products. So to give you an example, if I, let me just share the screen again and go through this, because I did the video last week. Nearly everything that we discussed. So for instance, we're in a ecosystem. How many sellers do we think are in this community, which we call the Amazon FBA community, that know 250,000, right? Let's say 250,000. How many sellers are on Amazon? 3, 4, 5 million? So we're talking about a percentage. Now, when I run everything through Rufus and asking the questions, you got an opposite answer. So effectively they're saying is that these are kind of niche ideas from a small group of people, but that doesn't reflect the other side of Amazon, right? So the reason I say that, that's nothing wrong or any detriment to anyone, but let's say you got a product and you do it that way. You go, well, I've got to stop the scroll, so I've got to be brighter, more out there, right? Fair comment. What if I told you is that the opposite of that is that white space and that gap, you stop the scroll because everyone is screaming and you're not shouting, you create that space for the brain to think. Now, if you look at when we cover pixel to pixel, go and look on mobile. If you notice how the interface on the mobile is laid out like most websites, it shrinks the image down, it creates a uniform, and it creates a white space behind it. Because Amazon knows what works psychologically for people to buy products. And what happens when you're trying to make something big on mobile, you're putting it into a constrained box. So let's say you've got a square image with a different color background, then there's lots of elements going on. Go and look at white background images. Let's say you put all the way, I'm not saying you should, but if you did put that all the way through on your listing on mobile, when it opens up, the white image looks big, but everyone thinks, well, that's just the white image, it's the main image, right? But it's not necessarily the case. What happens, because of the disappearing boundaries and it's not put in a square box, everyone who's trying to look big actually looks smaller. And the way that the algorithm works as well, if you add all the way white backgrounds on your mobile, instead of when you open it up, you'll see the main image tall, right? If you look at the search results page, there's a rectangle box, it's not square. So what happens is, if all your backgrounds were white, in a lot of cases, you'd get tall, big images, right? And if you knew a bit more about images, like let's say you want to make your product look bigger, that's where the angles come in. So let me give you a quick example here of what I mean by that. Because when it doesn't work, what do you do next? Throw the product in the bin, or do you keep doing what doesn't work for your product because it didn't work that way? So that's why I'm trying to get people to think, like, before you get to the image itself, the text and the call out, you need to work on the image. You've got to capture that moment. You've got to blend the two, right? Pretty doesn't convert. What you need is part art, part science, and they both come together and break even. You need the balance of both. Because people don't buy click-through rates and conversion rates. That's what we measure. So if you nosebleed everything to a customer who's not used to having their head like too much going on, they're not going to buy your product. So if you're doing images like that and it's not converting, why not try the other way that 7% of customers, as per Rufus, says how they like their images. And that's not a criticism. Again, what I'm saying is, do you throw your product in the bin, or do you throw the idealization of one way of doing it that didn't work? Why don't we try a radical approach? Then we can not discontinue this product. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything we talk about stopping the scroll is right when the occasion is right for it to stop the scroll. But then there's going to be days when it's not ideal, right? So if I go to the dashboard here, a good example would be of this. We want to make the image look bigger, right? So let's say here, and look, these generations are fractions of a penny. So it doesn't matter how many you generate. Now this is a bestseller. Now if we take a look at this, right? When you look at this image, overexposed, it doesn't look that professional, but you say, hey Dan, don't worry, it's the bestseller, right? You can see these look like they've been stuck on. There's nothing that is subtle about it, and nor is the rest of the search results page. They're all lighting up like this. Now, if you want to optimize this image, are you going to go louder? Are you going to go brighter? Where do you go? You're the bestseller. What can you do with this image? You're limited, right? But what about if we looked at it from a different perspective? We look at it as world-class people shoot. I'm not saying these are world-class images or correct. We start to look at angles, depth of field, right? And this is what's in the prompts as well, yeah? So look, professional, overhead, flat-laid product photography. Now, if we look at this, you've got plenty of room for your call-outs, your close-up shots of the product where they're showing you the quality of the product, stitching, or whatever it may be. Yeah, you can have your variations. If we look at that one, now that one's different to that one, but look how using the depth of field, the product is pushed to the forefront. Okay,
yeah.
I'm not saying that's the right image either. You've got to work that out because you have to test it. But that does look bigger because the way that you've used an angle to present it. It's the same with any of your packaging and your boxes. So if we go through these, this is just a demonstration purposes, how many different angles that you got. Now, here's another thing. You want to sell, everyone talks about premium products. Yeah? Who's the premium customer? Does the premium customer, be honest, does a premium customer buy product, looks at that and go, oh, wow, that looks stunning? They don't, do they? Oh, wow, I'll pay an extra $5 for that. So I'm looking at it from a number of different ways. And this, again, it's not a criticism. Look, at the end of the day, this person's got a successful product. It works for them. But what about all the other people in the search results page that are burning their ass on PPC and trying to copy exactly this because the bestseller did it? The only thing that you're going to compete on is how low you're going to drop your price.
Your price, exactly. Yeah.
Right? So if you imagine that you want to capture that crowd, you're going to want to test other images. So you want to test all the different angles. And even like this, look at the way that these are shot. Again, plenty of room to put your call out text. The call out text is the easiest part. What you got to look about imagery, and I talk it from a recording artist, a record producer, working with designers, working in the creative industry for 17 years. The design creative process is a loop. If you're writing copy, you go round and iterate. True? If you make a record, you're looping it round. Or if it's a band, someone will come in and hum something and the bass player goes, yeah, I think, what key are you in? Dum, dum, dum. And then drummers doing some light hi-hats. The song isn't click and ended, they're jamming. And it's the same with design. It's a series of iterations. Now, the key thing is like, well, I can just generate loads and pick them. But if you've ever generated 100 images that you've not really got control over, that's trained on other images of a certain style, the output you're going to get is not the full control that you're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. And so for our kind of video generation, I think the majority of the time should be spent in frame generation. Like that's where you want to spend the most time. And then the next, the kind of stitching it together piece is less, it's less of a burden because you've nailed like sections of it, and now just stitching it together.
So this is where this kind of comes in, right? Because I'm looking at people that maybe don't feel that creative but know what they want. So the idea would be here is that you get your concept, so you can give it your product, and then you can describe what the content is about. So for instance, an example, let's say you're selling a water bottle. I need a promotional video for our new insulated water bottle designed for fitness enthusiasts. The bottle is the Sleek Blue bottle, da 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 da. So it gives you an idea. From that, you can then generate it'll generate you 3 different concepts for all of your scenes. So it helps you with not only the direction you want to go, it also creates all the concept for the video end to end, gives you 3 different types for you to look at, and then it will list all the scenes. And then from the scenes, you can then do the prompting part. So it kind of helps you with the whole process through. I mean, again, you can obviously completely ignore it as well. But that I'm giving this away, right? So effectively, all you're going to need to do is your click and your add your API key and your LLM, because what this also does as well, it works in a way that you've got all your different models, you've got your free models, and I mean literally what you'll spend on there. You can see what I've spent, like since I've been building this and running tests and building out all the logic and stuff for it, that's how much I've spent. So if I've spent £34 and $6 and I've generated 988 images and 37 videos, if you add that up and then we throw in the LLM costs, right, which not only does it give you any model that you want and the free models, so you won't pay anything for that, you also got different prompt types. So general assistant, product photography expert, creative consultant, technical prompt engineer, visual storyteller, and then e-commerce specialist. When it generates your suggestions for the prompt, you click and then it will send you direct to the page on what you're on. So if you're on the video or you're on images, so for instance, let's take an image from a gallery, all right? And I select that image here. So I've got my reference image. Now I want to be able to ask questions about that reference image. So I just click on here, I go to the gallery, I select the same reference image, and I can then change that to whatever I want. Let's just say visual storyteller. Let's say it's not a main image. And I can say, can you give me 5 world-class suggestions of what we could do with this image for social media post on Instagram, as an example, right? We can do the main image stuff, but then what will happen here is let me copy and paste that, because take that out. I use what I like to use, which is Sonnet. I can use this. Then it will give me ideas for the image, and then from here I just click and then send it to the prompt, and then I can generate. And when it generates, it appears here, right? Then you click it again, it sends it back to the reference, and that's your loop. It goes round and round. So you're building up the assets. Now you say, well, Dan, why do I want to do that? Well, if you've got an okay designer, that designer who knows a bit about design as a profession will put them on steroids, because they'll be able to do all the things they couldn't do before. If you're not a designer, it'll help you. Look, so this will give you a load of suggestions. Okay? Then it helps you with the idea generation, right? Adventure story, read anything. So, okay, I can say, can you give me 3 stage prompts, one at a time, for this suggestion? Now, the other thing I'm building in is that it's the return loop, which is automatic, so that every generation gets better every time. So you give it the image, and then it says, we can improve on this. Okay, select that one. Sends it over. Give it back after the generation. So this is giving you a hero product shot here, and then I can just click that, and it sends it over to here, right? I'll get rid of the stage 2 part. Let's just get rid of that, check it's there. I don't know what it's going to come out like, but it takes away the heavy lifting of too much thinking. And you can say, look, I want to make my image look like a skyscraper. I want the angles to be so big. What does the world-class number 1, 2, 3 photographers who work for X, Y, and Z would use? And then it would run all of those, their lighting, their positioning, the direction of the light, the flooring, all of that stuff. And then you think about sets. You know, when we see images. So this one here, I don't know if it's any good. This is going to be, right, yeah, so I haven't done Pro. So we could see the full version of that. It's a bit arty, but it's not designed for necessarily a main image. Let's see what Nano Banana Pro does. So we'll run with the same prompt. We can generate the image. We come back over here. We read through all the other options as well. So Pro Instagram, tip, community story, Jack, emotional belonging shares, values, captions. So put captions on it, but I would only use Nano Banana Pro for that because it's better now with text. And check this runs that. Do this, move to there.
Yeah,
like
that's
while that's running,
flow.
I can go to the dashboard and I can go back and look through some of the images that I want to need to do, or I can come down here, and while that's happening, I can just take that over to the image editor while that's running, and then I can just decide, well, okay, maybe I want to add an image, or I want to click and remove the background or give it a solid color. I might want to crop it. Okay, not that you would crop that, but you just get a general idea. Depend on the type of style. Do I want to play around with this? Open this out a bit, maybe bring that down. You crop it, then you can then feather it, then you can add your text over the top. And why that's all going back, and bearing in mind this is more for people that are designers, so this is the Nano Banana version of it. Now what you've seen so far, yet have I decided to put any text on it, because we have to think about the emotional connection people have. And I know that sounds a bit weird coming from someone from East London who looks like me, But when you understand that there is the art and there's science. In the music industry, we'd have a joke is that you wouldn't put the accountant in the studio to make a hit record because that's not their thing. But you would put the singer who's writing the album, say Sade, she writes an album every time she has a heartbroken and makes a hit and resonates with her audience.
Right.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
and I think what we end up doing is we're rushing to the swing tag and you've already lost because you're never going to compete with the big guys if you skip this step and you nosebleed everything. There has to be light and shade. There's dark time, there's pain, there's pleasure, everything has a polar opposite, right?
Yeah.
And so the idea behind that is how do we do this in a cost-effective way where you don't have to be a designer, you've got guardrails, or you can give it to your VA and you know that they're not going to blow the account up and spend a fortune. There's no subscriptions.
Yeah.
So
this is amazing. Yeah, I
and it
just
will get better.
love it. Yeah, it's so cool. I can't wait to get my hands on it. What's really interesting is that, you know, I started my screen share with the Coca-Cola ad, and then I noticed that you also talked about Coca-Cola in your little video there, which is kind of cool because then we're both thinking about the same thing and how, you know, how this industry is going in the direction of higher. I guess we're getting better and better at this AI generated stuff. So yeah, I do need to hop off. I have a client meeting, so I will hop off here. But this was so fun. Thank you so much again, and yeah, can't wait to get my hands on this new tool.
You will. I've got to do the workshop next week, and then I'm going to get people on in batches. But I'm letting everyone in. This is your agencies and everyone, because I want to level the playing field. Because right now our industry's struggling. Let's all be honest, right? It could be doing better. People tell me they eat with their eyes. So if we can get them to have tools that helps them make better images, whether it's them, their VAs, their design teams, agencies still have to serve sellers, right? And then you've got design teams, it's there for everyone. And I want people to win. That's why I'm doing it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Danny. Yeah.
We'll sign off here. Guys, thank you for joining us. Ritu, how does people reach you?
So LinkedIn is the best place. Ritu Java, my full name. Happy to connect there.
Excellent. Guys, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I'll send out mails and stuff. You can join the wait list and then I'll get people on as fast as possible. We're still obviously in development, but I think you can see where we're going. So until further, see you next time. Without further ado, we're going to go. All right. See you soon. Bye.